Ooh, shoot. That out of the way. Okay, what's going on, everybody? We're live, right? We're live. Can everybody hear me, see me? Let me know in the chat what's going on. I know the internet's really choppy right now. It's been pretty good, but it's only when I go live when it's an issue. I don't know what the deal is. But yeah, like uploads and everything, like for a while there, uploads were really bad, but yeah, what's going on, everybody? Happy announcement week, I guess. So yeah, announcements going crazy. So I wanted to do a little stream. I know there were some comments like just wait until Friday. The reason why I can't wait until Friday is because I got things tomorrow night and Friday night. So tonight was the only night I could do it, and I wanted to wait until we can at least get some stuff. We have 4 houses to talk about, so there's plenty. And there will be more videos. I will have videos. If there are houses tomorrow and Friday, I will have videos out on them, and then we can talk about them at a later time. But what's going on, everybody? What's going on, Chemo Dog, Drew, No Ordinary GG? What's up, Eddie? How's everybody doing tonight? It's Wednesday, 7 p.m. where I'm at. So yeah, it's just a chill time. We're just gonna talk about the announcements, but I just want to for people who are already here, what do we think? What do we think about the rollout? Because I know there's a lot of opinions on the rollout. Some people are feeling it, some people are not feeling it because they're like, we're used to the IPs, we're used to the IP drops. So what do we think about the rollout in general? We'll talk about the houses specifically in order, but I just want to get some general vibes on what everyone's feeling about just the rollout in general. As for me, I mean, I'm really liking it. I really like this, the dropping originals for one, but also houses like back to back. I don't believe they've ever done this in the history of HHN. It's low key. Whoa. Low key, no hype behind it. Yeah, that's the one thing that I will say. The one thing I will say about these announcements, the only thing, and I know Gigi, you're saying this, I wish they had some trailers or maybe a little more information, rather than just the slight little blurb. I don't think everything needs a trailer, but I think like Slaughter Sinema would have been great with a trailer. And considering the trailer for the first one was so great, same thing with Major Suites. I feel like those two could have gotten trailers. But yeah, I'm liking it. Better than last year. I mean, definitely. I'm tired of the dumps. I know we're all probably tired of the dumps. I'm just saying, here, 2 weeks before the event starts, here's everything. It's kind of annoying. But I do like this this idea of them dropping this first, mostly because of, I feel like these are also the originals are always more of a wild card, because if you say, let's say, for example, speculated Ghostbusters coming. Ghostbusters, we already know what to expect. Speculated Insidious coming. Insidious, we kind of already know what to expect. With these, they're completely random, especially something like Goblin's Feast came out of nowhere. Like, literally came out of nowhere. And shocked us all, which I think is great. I love when they can do that. They can't do it very often, but when they can. This is the road pool and spec maps? I think so. I think so, definitely, for like the idea of them trying to beat the spec maps to the punch, especially considering there were no like specifics with the spec maps, at least with the Horror Night Nightmares and the Hall of Horror. Theirs were more specific, but the Horror Night Nightmares spec maps were all symbols, so you kind of had to do your own guessing. They just kind of said, here, you're getting Major Suites, you're getting Slaughter Sinema, Goblin's Feast, Museum, maybe something else. But yeah, wish they had a Slaughter Sinema trailer. Wish there was a little more for each. Yeah, I think that's just the general. I think that's the general temperature in the chat here. Like, I wish we had a little more, which is totally fair. But I do think. I wish there was. I wish, even if it wasn't a trailer, even if it was just a little more information, especially about something like Goblin's Feast. I feel like that one was probably the most vague in terms of like the museum. The vagueness, for me at least, piqued my interest, that like got me thinking, what could this be? Like what's the story here? With Goblin's Feast, I feel like it's kind of on the assumption that you already kind of know what you're getting into, which isn't really the case considering it's not tied to anything specific that we know of. We can talk about what we think it's tied to, but let's see. I feel like they're throwing it out there since we've all been asking for an announcement. I think that's true. I think part of it is the fact that everyone's been asking, and my sort of theory. I know there have been talks about this, and I don't know. I'm not an insider. I don't know anything, but my theory is this was a response to maybe some IP troubles. Maybe there was some situation where the IPs couldn't get, because I know there's a lot of people have been in the comments and in my videos and other videos talking about the idea of the Hollywood being behind, and usually Hollywood is those dual IP. Hollywood has got nothing, unfortunately. I feel very bad for you guys, Hollywood fans, because it's rough out there. Like, especially like it's like the meme of Squidward looking through the window. Like, yeah, we're having so much fun with announcements, you'll have nothing. I think that is not on purpose. I think that was just maybe a slip up. Maybe something happened, whether it's with their strategy or with an IP that caused that. But that's just me thinking this. It could be that has no relevance, but who knows? Can't wait till tomorrow, 10:33. Hopefully there's another announcement. I'm guessing there will be, considering the past 3 days we've gotten one. Why not just finish the whole thing? I mean, just finish the week, considering we are rumored to get 6 IPs that would leave Thursday and Friday. It would be kind of perfect. So hopefully they do this. Hollywood is waiting for an IP. That's what I'm thinking. Or, yeah, I'm thinking for a dual coast IP, because my thinking is, well, then why wouldn't they announce their originals? Maybe they're not ready yet. Maybe Murdy doesn't, because I don't feel like Murdy hasn't been very active this week at all. Although everybody's like, Murdy, tell us something. Eddie talked about it in my latest vid. This could be a budget year and enthusiast year, a combo. I think there's a little bit of everything. Also, if y'all haven't checked out Eddie's newest video about Halloween Hornets, go do so. It's really interesting, kind of talking about the strategy. We're talking about it here, but he talks about it a little more in depth. But I do think that I think it's a little bit of everything. I think it's maybe there was an IP mix-up or something was not issued on both ends for a rollout. A little bit of budget, because a lot of people are talking about Epic Universe, but I don't feel like a lot of people are mentioning the fact that Horror Unleashed is also coming. Like, that's also, and that's a lot more directly tied to Horror Nights in both Orlando and Hollywood. So, I mean, it's Universal at large, right? It's a whole new Universal venture. So that's a lot more, not just money, but also IP, resources, deals, things like that. So that stuff's probably also taking some resources away from Horror Nights, at least for this year. Once that opens, we'll see. But yeah, I think it's a little bit of everything, because I mean, what they're giving us, I'm super excited about everything. I don't mind, even if it is like some repeats and some things we've already seen. The things that, like Major Suites, I'm happy to see that again. Slaughter Sinema is something new to me, so I'm excited. So I'm guessing the IP houses will get next month. I'm thinking so. I'm thinking after this week, they're going to chill out for a little bit. I hope so, please. So I don't have to keep making videos. Although I love making the videos. This past week's been really fun, because I've never done this like back-to-back videos. But yeah, we're just like a little bit of a break to kind of collect our composure, and then we can get back to announcements once we get some more IPs, and then we get into construction season, when Scare Zone props start to go up. I'm totally lost on how the general event trailer is going to tie in with whatever's underneath the park. Now, I think even though they're going with originals first, I don't think that it's necessarily going to tie with the trailer, unfortunately. They don't really do that much anymore, and considering the trailer was the same for both coasts, they like to make the big event trailers something that is, no pun intended, universal for both Hollywood and Orlando, featuring the IPs. So featuring a couple, they don't even feature all the IPs, just a few of the IPs. So I'm thinking that is what we'll see. My theory is, if we're going to go based on the idea of the door and everything, I think there might be more doors. Maybe behind those doors we see some ghosts, some slime. Maybe we see the lipstick face demon. Maybe we see one of the little characters from A Quiet Place, the monsters. Things like that to kind of tie it in, like how we kind of saw with the Scream Squad last year. I'm not sure if we'll see the Scream Squad this year, but I think it'll kind of flow like that, if you're asking me. Hope they give us more Universal Monsters. Universal Monsters is not confirmed, but it is speculated to be on the lineup this year. And they usually like to do Universal Monsters. It's an easy one for Universal because they already have access to that. So Universal Monsters have been super successful. People love them. I'm a fan. I know a lot of other people love those houses. I don't see them maybe going away at least for this year. Maybe next year, but who knows? What are the chances they announce a Monster House alongside Dark Universe? I don't think they would. Maybe in the same month or maybe in the same week, but I don't think they would drop them the same day. I feel like they would want Dark Universe to stand on its own, to be Epic Universe, because when those Epic Universe announcements drop, they are the whole day. Everybody's talking about it because it's stuff outside of just our little corner of theme parks, Universal, Horror Nights. It's bigger. It's in the greater entertainment sphere whenever those announcements come. So usually they like to give them their own day. So maybe in the same week or, again, same month. They kind of did it with DreamWorks with announcing How to Train Your Dragon around the time they announced the DreamWorks Land stuff, around the time Kung Fu Panda came out, to kind of do this DreamWorks sort of synergy deal. So I'm thinking maybe they'll announce them in the same general time period. Florida's lineup so far seeming better. Love seeing the good originals. I'm scared the Hollywood's going to get Texas Chainsaw again. I feel bad because I feel like I kind of wish that, because I talked about it in my speculation video, and then I'm now seeing it everywhere. I'm not saying that it did anything, but anyway, Texas Chainsaw. Yeah, I wish they would honestly do more original. Instead of bringing IPs back like Halloween or Texas Chainsaw Massacre or ones that they have at Hollywood every handful of years, they do maybe another original. I feel like people love the originals, and the originals work. I think Holidays in Hell, from everything that I've heard, was a lot of fun, fairly popular. Monstros, may or may not be getting one in Orlando, so that shows. And trying to think of the other. Scarecrow was pretty popular that year, so I feel like the originals, they're kind of they're few and far between, but when they do have them, they are very popular. So I'm surprised they don't do more of them nowadays. Maybe the Scare Zones will tie in the video like they did with Oddfellow. Maybe. I haven't really heard much about the Scare Zones, honestly. Nobody really heard anything about the Scare Zones. We are still fairly early. Scare Zones aren't usually talked about until really next month. Probably we'll start hearing, maybe once props start to go out, we can start saying, okay, what might a Scare Zone be? I know last year it was pretty much right before the big Scare Zone drop, which I think we're still going to get a dump for Scare Zones. I don't think they'll do full announcements for Scare Zones, but I do think that they like to do that drop before they put something out that you know what it is. For example, Vamp 69, the stage was up. They already had some of the graphics out, so we already kind of knew what it was, but they were before they said anything official, anything that said Vamp or 69 on it, they dropped that announcement. So have a feeling they'll do that. I'm not sure if they'll tie it in because, again, they like to do both coasts, but I would love to see more original videos, them to make videos about originals. They did POVs last year, so fan of the house and the franchise. Oh, Universal Monsters. Okay. I'm saving up. Yeah, it's gonna be big. Universal Monsters is gonna become a staple of Universal. It already kind of has become a staple of Universal. It's been a staple of Universal for the past 30 something years. They've had it forever in the Universal parks, but now I think it's becoming a new staple. Do you think we could get a Poseidon's Fury house? I don't think we're getting a Poseidon's Fury house, although we could very well see something maybe involved with the new museum house, because that is, mythology, folklore, Greek. I'm hoping some Greek mythology. So maybe some Poseidon's Fury Easter eggs, or maybe even a scene that's reminiscent of Poseidon's Fury. Maybe we get I don't know. But I don't think we're getting a full-on house. I think this would be our taste of Poseidon's Fury, unless they were to do a full-on house later on down the road. Way later on down the road. I wouldn't completely rule it out, though, in perpetuity, but I wouldn't say for this year. Yes, we need more originals. Most recent survey was asking about more originals. Yeah, I think definitely originals. I feel like the creative team I know at Hollywood is a lot smaller than ours, so I know it's a lot more. I feel like it would be a lot more stringent on them to come up with more originals versus like, us, we have a bunch of different people that are doing houses, so you can kind of divide and conquer. But I think originals would be successful, and I think again they seem to work. People seem to love originals. I mean, I love originals. I know y'all probably love originals in Orlando and Hollywood. So yeah, more originals. Blumhouse Terror Tram. That is, I mean, considering we do have a talked about maybe Blumhouse Scare Zone. I wouldn't be surprised if that's kind of a similar theme. Just kind of putting Blumhouse together and saying, hey, here's all our characters. I wish they would do this next year, because next year the Blumhouse lineup is crazy. You have Megan 2, FNAF 2, Black Phone 2, The Wolfman, a new Insidious movie. I mean, there are so many Blumhouse titles coming out next year, big Blumhouse titles, that I feel like saving that for next year would be better. But okay, so those are just some general thoughts. We can talk about more stuff as we get into it, but I want to get specifically into the houses. And let's just start with our first one. The first one that was announced, and that is Slaughter Sinema 2. What do we think about Slaughter Sinema 2? Are y'all excited for Slaughter Sinema 2? I know for me, this is my, if we're going to do a hype list out of the 4, we can do that maybe later on down the road at the end of the stream. But for right now, this is sitting at the top of my hype list right here. 8 new movies, all different types of genres. We're getting spaghetti westerns. We're getting creature features. We're getting a Grindhouse. I feel like Grindhouse is a good kind of general topic for Slaughter Sinema. Gory, kind of dirty, grimy, in your face. That's what Slaughter Sinema is about. A little goofy. That's what Slaughter Sinema is all about. So yeah, Slaughter Sinema here doing Slaughter Sinema 2. What do we think about it? We have a celebrity in the chat. Welcome, Zombie Chris. If you have not been watching Zombie Chris's coverage of the new announcements, go ahead and do so. And just generally Zombie Chris's videos. Awesome creator, good friend of mine. So yeah, everybody seems to love Zombie Chris in the chat here. Kind of on the fence. Why are you on the fence? I'm just curious. I'm not. I feel it. I see the kind of divisive opinions on it. I know people that didn't see it that are like, why should I really care? Some people that like me that didn't see it. Why? Why not? That's just me though. Hope they include barbershop. So I put a poll up on my community tab. If you're not following community tab, be sure to. I'm sure a lot of you are, because y'all are in this live stream. Y'all are the real ones. But the community tab asking about the different movies that what would you like to see return? What would you like to see have a sequel or have some Easter eggs? And a lot of you guys said barbershop. A lot of barbershops. A lot of devil dogs. I know a lot of people I love those devil dogs, which was, I think it's funny because, okay, for those who haven't been watching the channel maybe as long or maybe are newer, I do every year I do sort of a general dartboard sort of predictions, and Slaughter Sinema was on my list. So I think one of the 4 that I got right, that I predicted back in January, and I mentioned that was because Devil Dogs was rumored for last year. So I'm curious to see if Devil Dogs may be sort of a key piece of this. We don't know. The only thing we know about is Heavy Metal Hell 3D, which I said in the video, Heavy Metal Hell in 3D. It's just Heavy Metal Hell 3D. So I don't think it'll be 3D with glasses, but I think it'll be 3D with blacklight. So doing a 3D adjacent experience without glasses, because glasses is very much a liability. I feel like very much a liability. It is very much could be a problem. Excited to grab a seat at the cinema. Kept hearing how good the first one is, and I love the theme. Yeah, I mean, I've heard nothing but good things about the first one. I love the movies. I love the vibe. I'm here for cheesy B movies. That's all. I love watching cheesy B movies. I love how ridiculous they are. I love the B movies in this house, and a lot of people must also like that because it's getting a sequel. Can't wait for the spaghetti western portion of it, Spooky Cowboys. Yeah, I definitely think Spooky Cowboys. I want to. That's the one that's piqued my interest the most, just because the last time they did a western was Ghost Town, and that was like a serious, like actual, like taking it serious. Slaughter Sinema, it could be like, I know I like Alien Cowboys, for example, or like some kind of like serial killer cowboys or something crazy like that, werewolf cowboys, if you really wanted to. It's kind of like wild like that. I appreciate that with Slaughter Sinema. So yeah, definitely curious to see. Can't wait to see how the food items will relate. I hope we get a Slaughter Sinema booth. I would love a Slaughter Sinema booth. I think we're definitely going to get a Major Sweets stand. Finally able to get that Major Sweets candy. And yeah, I don't know if we're going to get any other, like, I wonder if we're going to get any other original, because Yeti, we had a Yeti booth and we kind of had a Blood Moon booth-ish. And the Oddfellow booth, which was like kind of like for the icon. So I'm curious for what we will see. Definitely, I do think Slaughter Cinema will be a cool idea for a food booth, though. Based off profile picture, Ghost Cinema movie I like the most, Harry. I know you've been very vocal about your love for Slaughter Cinema, and yeah, it's definitely appreciated. Definitely appreciate all the love for Slaughter Cinema that I've been seeing across the channels. You guys, y'all really love that house. Love the theme. Love the theme. Never experienced the first one, but loved seeing Not Scary Farm do a cinema slasher. I think that we are going to see Slaughter, like cinema slasher. I think maybe may have been the catalyst for them to do this one this year. That's my like headcanon. That cinema slasher was such a well-received house. Everybody seemed to love that house. It's like everyone claimed it to be one of their favorite from Not Scary Farm last year. It's a house that I would love to see. It just very much like took it to the next level. Took the idea of Slaughter Cinema and really honed it in and really did something exciting with it. So I'm thinking this is maybe they had this in the vault. Like they're like, okay, we're going to do a Slaughter Cinema 2 at some point. But now we're like, oh shoot, I think now is the year to do it, considering, you know, Knott's just did one last year and it was very successful. So that's just my thought, although could have just totally been a coincidence. Who really knows, considering this is Orlando. Hope to do a black and white silver screen movie. Honestly, I think this would definitely depend on what we see with another one of the rumored houses. If we're seeing maybe black and white in that house, I'm not sure if we are going to see it in here. Although I would love to see that. I would love to see a bunch of like nods to other movie related things at Halloween Horror Nights, like maybe a nod to the usher or the director or HR Blood and Guts. Maybe not like featuring them, although HR Blood and Guts would be a good cameo for this house. But maybe not featuring those icons, but maybe like a little nod, a little reference, a little Easter egg to them. I think it'll be really cool and we get a lot of people excited. I love horror western Disneyland Paris, so peek at it. Yes, Phantom Manor. That is a bucket list ride for me to see. I love and just generally that area. Their version of I don't know if it's Frontierland or Westernland. I think Westernland might be what they call it, or maybe that's in another park. I'm not sure, but that area. Beautiful. Calling a Major Sweet Sting Alley booth. I think this is a good idea. I think if they don't use it for an IP, this would be a good idea. If they didn't use it for an IP, because they used it for Last of Us last year. So unless they did it for like maybe Ghostbusters, which I could see them doing considering it's such a large booth. Although I think a Major Sweet Sting Alley booth would be really great. Lots they could do with it. Lots of props they could reuse. They could bring out the masks from the parade, from the Sweet Revenge Scare Zone. They did it for the Mardi Gras store a couple years ago. They put them in there as kind of like some Easter eggs. So maybe. Next announcements are probably going to be Monsters of Latin America and then the Icon House Tribute Storehouse. So what we have rumored is, yes, Monsters of Latin America, and the potential of a tribute to terror or something. That's the one that I think is like the wild card right now. Nobody really knows exactly what that is, and I really don't want to know exactly what that is. So I kind of want to be surprised. Although we've talked about the potential of being a tribute to Terror, Boris Schuster, False Idol, something else. If it's a Boris Schuster house, I'm going to lose my mind. You're going to watch it here on the channel. But regardless, yes, these are probably going to be next when it comes to originals. I mean, it's the only real two that I think we have left, unless they pull a wild card and have a random original that we don't know about. Hello, when do you think Halloween Hornets will announce Halloween Hornets Hollywood will announce the first maze? I think they're going to announce the first maze. I think next month. I'm thinking early next month. I mean, we are at the end of May, so I'm thinking maybe early to mid June. I think it's kind of pushing it. That was when they announced Last of Us last year, so maybe they'll do that and start rolling out their IPs, which also would mean Orlando would start rolling out their IPs as well. But I think that's kind of what we're thinking. Crazy Good Nuts House. Yeah, that event looks awesome. I mean, Cinema Slasher looked like a lot of fun. I love the blacklight effect in the beginning where they had the in the lobby. I think that's so cool. That's such a simple effect. It's not anything too crazy, but it works. It totally works. And I would love to see Horror Nights use that in some capacity. Sucks FNAF and Elm Street are making a Florida this year, but I still have high hopes for Hollywood. I'm not sure if they would appear in Hollywood. I feel like I would think they would want to put these in both, but I know there's some talks about Elm Street. I don't think Nightmare on Elm Street is happening at least this year because Freddy's really having some rough times right now. I think that Freddy is from everything that's been talked about and from my own thoughts, like I know Freddy has got so many legal troubles just in general that Halloween Horror Nights is like, I feel like the last thing they would want to really try to do with that IP, although it would be successful, I wouldn't deny that it would be super popular. People would love that. People would love Nightmare on Elm Street. But I think Five Nights at Freddy's does have a potential to come at a later time, maybe in Vegas, maybe next year, considering the sequel is coming next year. So, yeah, maybe this isn't the time. Although Freddy, I have no clue about that one, honestly. I have no clue when that will ever happen again. But that's just me. I know there's talk here. Anything can happen. Any rumors on the Tribute Store theme? No, honestly, we haven't really heard about the Tribute Store. The Summer Tribute Store opens this weekend, and we are going to be getting a few different themes. The video store, the Mega Video Store, the arcade, and the Tribute Theater back. So maybe that ties with Major Sweets, considering that has a tie to the backstory of Sweet's Revenge. Maybe we're going to see some Easter eggs to that in the Tribute Store. But no, nothing for Halloween Horror Nights, although I think they should keep the video store thing. I think they should keep the video store thing for Horror Nights and really go in, considering there's going to be Ghostbusters stuff in the summer store. Keep it around and maybe tweak it a little bit. Although usually they move the Tribute Store to New York, so maybe it'll be something else. But I would love for it to fit into whatever New York scare zone it is. Food and Wine Festival with its meats versus sweets. I would love for Meaty Meats and Major Sweets to meet up, because technically they did in the scare zone. I mean, they weren't connected, but they were in the same area when they had it. But that would be kind of cool. I think the lack of IP announcements is a sign they fell through, and we'll get a lot of repeats or weak IPs. I think this year is not particularly going to be a super strong IP year, and I think that's why they're leading in with the originals. That's just my take. Leading in with the originals, getting people hyped about the originals. The original, here's my take, okay? If this doesn't hype you up, then just know that, like, I don't think we're getting any huge IPs any Stranger Things IPs this year or Last of Us. I think it is going to be big stuff for sure, like, talking about Ghostbusters or Insidious, A Quiet Place. These are like big franchises that people love, but I don't think you're going to see any doorbuster IPs this year, at least from what's been talked about. Again, anything can happen, but at least in Orlando. Hollywood, maybe some stuff, maybe The Weeknd. I know that's been talked about a lot, but I think the originals are really what's going to lead the charge this year. Lots of chats here. Someone said icon could be the curator. He was the person in the tribute store. Yes, I do. I would love the curator to be an icon, considering he is technically in the summer store. Although I don't know how much crossover that is. Like taking a character from the tribute store to the event. I don't know if that would be unseen. Usually they run adjacent to each other. They don't like collide necessarily, but who knows? If we get a tribute to terror theme house, we could see that change. Does anyone think Boris Schuster would make a good icon? Yes, I would. Boris Schuster is my icon. That's my favorite icon character. Case Files on Earth was the house that made me really want to get into Halloween Horror Nights lore. So I love Boris. I love I love other icons. The director, the usher, Dr. Oddfellow. Those are some of my favorites. But I love Boris, and I would really love Boris to get his own time in the spotlight. I wish Speculations maps would not come out, because it makes it more exciting. I understand this take, and I honestly kind of agree from time to time, because I like when they can kind of pull a fast one, and they can surprise, like Goblin's Feast was a total surprise, not on any map, not really talked about at all, just kind of an out of nowhere house. And I love when they do that. I mean, even Slaughter Sinema too. Yeah, yes, we kind of talked about it, but the actual reveal was so surprising that I kind of agree with this. Although the speculation part of it is part of the fun, but I think there are folks who put a lot of effort into put a lot of emphasis onto the speculation map, when you got to know it is just speculation. So I say don't get married to any ideas, because it is just speculation. So that's just my take on it. I think if you put so much on the speculation maps that you are disappointed when something is or isn't what it is, then I think you might want to look at it in a little bit of a different way. That's just me. That's just me talking. That's my opinion. But as someone who makes videos and has to look at these speculation maps and talk about them all the time, I'm seeing speculation every single day. But sometimes it's fun to kind of like take a step back and be like, oh, here's an actual surprise. Lots of chats here. Y'all are going crazy. Thank you for coming to the stream. Thank you for showing up. It would be epic if they're throwing us off this. They're saying finish the week announcing announce Scream, Conjuring. Oh, then the Return of the Walking Dead. I would feel like, imagine you put all those together and then you put the Walking Dead. I feel like so many people would be like, okay, you had us in the beginning and then no. Although Walking Dead's fun. I know there's some people that love it. There's some people that don't. Many people that don't. Many people that are like, please don't ever bring Walking Dead back. Holding out for A Quiet Place, I think you're going to be happy. And based on everything that's going around, it seems like Quiet Place is going to come. So hopefully. I imagine they'll finish Boris's story from the tribute story. I would think that would be the direction if they were to do it. They would really maybe retell a little bit of it. I would love to see like a beginning or a facade or something that kind of retold the story for those who didn't visit the store or those who don't remember, and do the full story. So part 1 of False Idols and also part 2, the new stuff. I think that would be kind of cool. Still have a lot yet. I don't know why I can't talk. A lot yet to be announced. To get ready, everybody. Yeah, there's more to come. Like I think like this isn't it. But I do want to just go off and talk about what we do have, because it's very exciting. Let's see. I'm looking back at chat. There are lots of chats here. Let's talk about the weekend. I'm very interesting how the lineup will go with the general public. Will we see the crowds we had last year? I don't think we're going to see the crowds we had last year, but I do think it'll be. I think the new like the fans. I think will start to come. I feel like Horror Nights has also gained a lot of like fans. I mean, I'm pretty recent, but even people who are more recent than me that just started doing last year, that the people that will want to show up for this, because the Universal community in general is just growing at a crazy rate. Universal creators and Universal fans are just growing, and people that are curious about Halloween Horror Nights that are starting to get into the parks and are like, what's Halloween Horror Nights? I've never been before, or I've always heard about this thing and I want to go. This might be your year, especially because these houses are pretty exciting. Even for people who are not fans, you can say Crazy Candy Factory. That sounds fun. Like goblins and orcs and medieval creatures. That sounds fun. Or like museum gone wrong. That could, all this stuff sounds interesting. I feel like to those who are even outside of like us, would it be weird the chance they have Beetlejuice and Ghostbusters? I don't think Beetlejuice will come this year. Although I would love if they did like something like a little like just have Beetlejuice roaming around. I know they would never do that, but like because it's not Universal, but like have Beetlejuice in like a Peacock bar or something like that, or maybe just do like a Beetlejuice bar. I think that would be fun. The crowd's been growing like crazy, starting to think they need to open the other park. I don't think they'll do that until Epic opens, and then maybe, but I don't see it happening right away because that is a logistical situation to have to really, because the last time they did it, they didn't have Harry Potter, they didn't have that big IP attractor. And that is the way Islands is the way Islands is laid out. I mean, like you kind of have to go in the circle. Like you can't like just cut off an area like you can at Studios. You can cut off Diagon Alley from Horror Night stuff or cut off The Simpsons, and you can get around the park pretty easily, right? You don't have to like you don't have to go through all those areas and actually be immersed in them. So there's like some stuff. I know Seuss was a problem. I know Marvel was a problem. I know Harry Potter has been a problem. I know it's Marvel even since then. It would be something that would really have to work out, and I don't know if it would necessarily be worth it to them until they absolutely need to. Which I don't think they absolutely need to. I think this year the crowds are going to be a little less, and I think it's going to kind of tell everybody like at least a little bit less than last year. I definitely think it'll be a little less than last year. And I know Eddie and Chris and those who've been going for a lot longer than, the past few years can attest that some of those earlier years had pretty heavy crowds too, from all I've read and heard. Like the whole it's busy thing is nothing new. It's just kind of like the way it is. And I guess what's being offered too. Is there stuff for people to do? Is there places for people to go? That's just my take. Although I would love to see it. A lot of people speculate Fear returning. I don't think so. What are your opinions on the overall theme being based on Terra Cruentus? I don't think they'll do Terra Cruentus for a full year. Unfortunately, I think there's a lot of I think there's a lot of stigma around that whole theme, and they didn't really do that great in 2021. I don't feel like they did it to the level that they could have in terms of like bringing the lore back. But I don't see them doing it again until like another anniversary year. So I don't think they'll do it this year. Who knows in the future? Stranger things have happened at this event, but I don't think they're doing it this year. But that's a crazy theory. I haven't really heard that one before. Dual Park HHN is a walking nightmare. I did it. It was crazy. I believe you because it's getting like even when because when they would do the Dual Park, right, the big scare zone was in between. So like I'm thinking like, okay, going to Grinchmas, if any of you have been to Grinchmas, kind of that way of going to and from the parks, or if you went to Universal during COVID, they had this open this pathway open to like breeze through the parks. And that's a lot of walking, especially when, you're already walking through houses and walking around the parks. It's a lot, especially when it's hot. Oh, yeah. Have you ever been to HHN Hollywood? I've not been to HHN Hollywood. I know your question is kind of, this follow-up question is kind of like if I went to HHN Hollywood. I think, I'm trying to think. From what I've seen, I think that y'all did Chucky better than us. Although I liked the Chucky house here. I thought it was fun. It wasn't my favorite. It was pretty low on the list, totally. But I did enjoy parts of it. But I think y'all knocked it out of the park with Chucky. It's always been busy, but a lot less houses back then. And as the added crowd growth followed, that being said, the conga line. Yeah, I think that is definitely like, I feel like that's definitely a thing. Like that's I think what I'm talking about is like things have changed. It's been busy, but they're like different like changes, more houses, yet just the way they manage the houses and just a lot of things. It's a progression, definitely. Chucking The Last of Us better. I know, Chris, you're a champion for The Last of Us in Hollywood, and that house. I mean, I will say that house does look better than ours. Although I'm not the one to talk because I didn't go to that event, and I'm not like a huge Last of Us fan. I'm a bigger Chucky fan, like in terms of the series. So that house is like, I was like, okay, y'all really knocked it out of the park. Feels like Orlando heard my plea for no more all original house dropper before the event and flipped the expectations. Yeah. Shout out to Brian from Orlando for kind of like making me think about this, but the idea of like, this is the new dump. I won't say this will happen every year, but this is like the dump flipped, because we're technically still getting kind of like a dump, but it's not the same. It's not the same just dropping everything on one day. It's doing this sort of trickled effect, but we're still getting all our originals, and we're still not really getting that much context. Kind of just like the dumps, where we just kind of get all the houses, a little bit of a description, a picture, and that's what we got until we got podcasts. So hopefully the podcasts come out soon. For some of these, we can know a little more about them. Okay, I know I'm talking about Hollywood. I want to move to the next house. I'll answer some of these chats. I do want to move to the next house just because of timing. I do want to move to the next haunted house. So we got Slaughter Sinema 2, right? A house everybody seems to be generally excited for. I know some folks aren't as excited for it, but here's one that caught me off guard. Totally got me off guard. Goblin's Feast. This one caught me way off guard in terms of like those who've seen the video, the response I got on my video, the comments I've seen across social media. People seem to love this house concept. Which it makes sense. It makes sense. I mean, like, I think it's cool. I think it's a cool idea. Interesting setting. Would be cool if this was in a soundstage, although I think this could work in a tent. I do think this could work in a tent. Make it really tight. You know, goblins aren't very big, so you can make it kind of like small, like almost like a Hobbit home kind of deal. Yeah, I think Goblin's Feast could be really, really interesting. Was that ever in the spec map? No. This was never talked about when it comes to spec. This was unknown. So it was an unknown original. But even in the speculation circles, like even people like saying, oh, what could this be? What could this, like, what does this have to do with anything? This was still not talked about. Like, I know when I saw this, I thought it was fake. I thought it was someone trolling, and just made this like really good quality house bait. But no, totally real, and totally awesome. Goblin's Feast is most anticipated. I'm really excited about this. Goblin's Feast is probably the closest thing to Shrek. Hopefully, I would love for the entrance for this to go next to E.T. Oh my god, that would be so perfect if it's right next to Shrek's home in the new DreamWorks. Like, that would be the perfect house location. Like, I feel like that's almost like when they put Bugs next to Men in Black. Like, I'm like, that's so perfect thematically. And yeah, I'm so excited about this. I'm excited about this. I know a lot of people are really excited, and it's not my top, but I definitely am excited about this. I'm curious to see. Can't wait to see the makeup. Oh yeah, so excited for these costumes. I want to see how they do it, because these definitely look like your more like Halloween Hornets has done goblins, but they haven't really been like traditional goblins. You know, like they look more like Lord of the Rings style goblin, but these look like little green guys with big ears. You know, like that's what I'm expecting with this. So I'm hoping like almost like kind of like leprechaun size. So I'm hoping we get some of that. I would be shocked if we didn't see the dragons. I'm not sure if they would. I mean, I'd be cool if they reused the dragons and Dueling Dragons. I would think we might see the trolls. I think the trolls or the fairies from Dueling Dragons could make an appearance here. But I think that the goblins alone can carry if they really do something cool with the sets and the theme. Heard zero info in this house early. Yeah, it surprised me too, Chris. I mean, I threw everybody off guard for sure. Love the house artwork. Yeah, I'm liking the logos. Slaughter Sinema logo is great. This one's great. Gives me very much like Wicked Growth feel. I know some people have said that. Wicked Growth feel with the oranges, the browns, and sort of the coloring, the little slime on there, or blood or drool or whatever that is. Very curious to see what that's about. But yeah, I'm definitely getting like a big just like fantasy, like not dueling dragons, Dungeons and Dragons, more or less. Lord of the Rings mixed with like some Wicked Growth, like the Witch's Cottage onward. If I went through Wicked Growth from that scene forward, like that kind of vibe for this. And we are getting witches here, so I wonder what kind of witches we'll see. We'll be seeing like some of the witches from the second half of Spirits of the Coven. Are we going to see some of the witches from like Conjure the Dark? Are we seeing more of like pointy nose and pointy hats witches from Wicked Growth and other things like that? Wonder. Yes, I'm excited because they have an opportunity to make some really great sets. Yeah, I'm talking about witches for sure. Really great sets. I'm hoping this is, like I said, I really would like this house to be kind of a tight, like almost like how Dr. Oddfellows was kind of a very tight house. I would really like that. What did this have? So I know there's some opinions like connecting it to Dueling Dragons or not connecting it to Dueling Dragons. I don't think it's necessarily like, I mean, I think it'd be cool to connect it to the world of Dueling Dragons. I don't know if it has to necessarily be. Although I think just the vibe, I think they saw how successful this house was, and they're like, what if we make Yeti with goblins? Like Yeti, but make it medieval. You know what I'm saying? Like take this mythical creature, make a whole house about them. They're coming after you. They're doing some funny things. Maybe I'm guessing this is going to be like kind of like dark comedy, like not comedy, not campy necessarily, but like how Yeti is, where they're like do some things. They're like, oh wow, this is kind of wild. Yeah, I bet this house will have some of the funny quotable lines. I kind of would agree with you. I feel like this one could have almost like your Yeti quotes. And I think this will be almost like our Yeti house this year. It's a weird comparison to make, but I think this one could be like almost like a Yeti style in terms of, man, I could see this one being a fan favorite. Honestly, if it's done well, I could see this one definitely becoming a fan favorite in the years to come. Yeah, Fantasy Geek is loving this house announcement. Yeah, I'm all about it. I'm curious to see what smells they'll have in here. All these houses have the potential to have really cool smells. Maybe not the museum one, but definitely like Major Suites, Slaughter Sinema. This one you could smell like you'd have them like cooking whatever in there, have like that sort of smell, because you are going into like a tavern. So for sure, I think there's a lot of possibility with this house. So yeah, I'm trying to think if there's anything else I haven't said already about this house. In itself, they might test the waters that they want to bring Terra Quintus back. I think that's true. I think like Terra Quintus is its own thing, right? With the Terra Queen, the Body Collectors, Terra Mines, and all that stuff. But the idea of doing high fantasy at Horror Nights in this sort of fashion is very Terra Quintus. It's something they really haven't done in a while. And Dueling Dragons, again, was so successful last year. People loved that house. At least, even if it wasn't House of the Year, it was still a popular enough house with the fandom and with the general public. I feel like that this house could maybe they had always planned to do this one after. Like this was always planned to be a follow-up, regardless of the success of Dueling Dragons. Yeah, lots of potential here. For sure. Lots of potential to see what these little goblins are up to. Maybe a food booth for goblins. Maybe like some of the goblin food. Like I would like a little goblin cookie, a little green goblin cookie. I mean, they have the Shrek swamp food over in DreamWorks, so maybe they do something like that. I don't think they'll touch DreamWorks, but maybe like outside of DreamWorks in like that little plaza area they have outside of it, outside of ET, maybe. They've had food booths in the past. They had one there last year. They had one, the sort of Blood Moon medieval-ish booth. What was the worst house for you last year in HHN Orlando? I'm going to say my least favorite house was The Last of Us, in terms of like, it was just one that I didn't really have much of an attachment to. I honestly, other than The Last of Us, I liked pretty much every house. I think about all those houses. Last of Us was just one that it just didn't strike a chord with me. I don't know why. It just, and I went through it multiple times. The first time I don't even really remember it, because it was like right before park close, and we had just done Howl-O-Scream earlier that night. So we went to Horror Nights, Losh and I, and we did that house. And I was like, half awake. So I was like, what's going on here? By the time we got out, I was like, oh, that's a house. But no, the creature design's great. When I did the behind the scenes tour, the sets are cool. Sets are great. But I think it's just, I'm not a huge apocalypse fan either in terms of like houses like zombie apocalypse. This is not my thing. As much as like other themes, like other certain themes like carnival or you know, creature houses, like you know, those kind of themes. Apocalypse just isn't my favorite, but that's just me. It's my take. Probably right next to that would be probably Yeti, which is a house that is a lot of fun, but it's not my favorite. But yeah, Shrek house. Yes, I'm telling you, put it right next to ET. Put it in the ET portal. I have a feeling we'll use that portal again this year, even though there are no parade buildings set on the maps, but feeling we'll still use that portal there. Okay, Goblin's Feast. We can keep talking about Goblin's Feast. It might come up, but the next house. So they do these at 10:33 a.m., which is crazy. But the next house is one that I was very excited to see, and that was Major Sweets Candy Factory. What do we think about Major Sweets and his Candy Factory? Coming at it as someone who loved Sweet Revenge, super excited for this house. I really like Sweet Revenge a lot in terms of like the theming, the atmosphere, the costumes, the characters, the music. I think it was just all so great. I think it was in my opinion, I think it's their best follow-up to that first Vamp Zone in terms of like, it brought the same energy almost as a Vamp Zone, but it was different. It was almost like if Trick or Treat, the movie Trick or Treat, met Vamp in terms of like having the music, having the fun costumes, having the great interaction, having the atmosphere. I feel like it is tonally was kind of a great continuation on something that was started with the Vamp Zones, that the Vamp Zones kind of started to lose later on, in my opinion. I think this one nailed it, and I think this one set the next sort of precedent for those fun zones. But I do think there's also a lot of lore behind it. I think there was a lot of lore. For those who went to the event, you saw the clues in the tribute store and the sort of lead up, the podcast. There was a lot of stuff behind it. So I'm very curious to see. I was always curious. I was like, well, I feel like there's a reason for this. And sure enough, getting a new house. So we're going to learn more about Major Sweets. We're going to go into the factory. Of course, what everyone's wanted to see, right? What's the factory look like? Yeah, so much potential for cool sets. I'm hoping for very much like factory, but almost like with that Killer Clowns level of colorful, and some guest activated triggers would also be fun. I know someone mentioned that in a comment on the video, and I thought, yeah, that was a great idea. Have some big red buttons where people could push. You know, have like a lever someone can spin or something like that, and it'll activate some fog or a sound or a spray of water. You know, like let's do fun stuff like that, because I feel like this is definitely set up to be the fun house in terms of like Sweet Revenge didn't really scare me at all, really. It was just more fun than anything else. So, yeah. Can't wait to get through the factory and see how candy is made and why it affected the children. Yeah, exactly. Learn more about the lore, learn more about what happened here. Are we going to see the same kids? Are they going to be wearing the costumes? That's what I'm curious about. It's like, because the last one was the Halloween party, right? Are we going to see the same costumes? Are we going to get the Baghead girl again? That's what I want to see. Are we going to get the little robot guy again? You know, like that's what made that so fun. So hopefully if they do switch up the costumes, they do something also fun and cool and exciting, and don't just put them in regular people clothes, because I don't know how fun that would be. But I don't know how it would fit the story. For this one, Major Sweet's one of the best HHN characters. Time period is great too. The music, yes, I think definitely like having some fun music in there would be great. Like some fun period music. Do almost like what they did with Scary Ohio. Where you had that maybe playing in the outside, have that very like 50, you know, like mid 50s sort of rock and a little bit of like pop music. I guess that was what was playing. I was trying to remember off the top of my head what was in that Scare Zone. feel like it would be a mix of Killer Clowns. Oop, there we go. And the One Clown House from 2014. So Giggles and Gore. Very interesting. Yeah, I think definitely like the factory theme of Giggles and Gore mixed with sort of the smells of Killer Clowns. Hopefully it smells good. I'd like a nice sweet smelling house here. With the chocolate smells and the candy and cotton candy and stuff like that. My scare zone was good from the videos I've seen. It was a lot of fun. Scare zone was so much fun to walk through. I think it is, again, it's probably the most fun I've had in a scare zone. Like my favorite scare zone is Graveyard, because that scare zone was just so perfect. But this one was definitely the most fun I had in a scare zone, especially that year. Yeah. I know they take that one candy scene from Clowns, smelled and all. I don't know. I know this house. I can't remember off the top of my head what this scene is, but I mean, pull some from that too. Sure. I mean, that's another house with Sweet Licks and that sort of like very bright, colorful vibe. Hope for Leave It to Cleaver Easter eggs. Yeah, I mean, I think Leave It to Cleaver. I don't know why it took me a second to respond to that. Yes, I think Leave It to Cleaver Easter eggs would be a lot of fun here. Put some Easter eggs to all kinds of stuff. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff you could reference. I mean, you see Lil Boo in the picture there. Do we see Lil Boo come back in this house? Do we see him have his own scene? Like, do we see him like appear like I'm very curious because I know, like, again, they didn't Photoshop him out of the photo. And this was a graphic that was reused from the 2022 the Scare Zone. The truck outside had this graphic on it. So I'm curious to see if they would do this. Honestly, I think they should bring the truck, like do what they did for Killer Clowns. I keep talking about Killer Clowns. Bring the truck back and put it outside the house for a photo op. If they don't use it this year for a Scare Zone, I know last year I think they used it for Shipyard. But if they don't use it for this year for a Scare Zone, just put the truck outside and maybe put a Major Sweets actor outside for a photo op, like they did for Killer Clowns back in 2019. I think that'd be a lot of fun because that truck was really cool set-wise. And I don't know where they would – I don't see them necessarily bringing it into the house because that is kind of a big set piece. But putting it outside would be a lot of fun to kind of set it up for people to go inside. You think the factory – hold on. I'm going to get back to your comment. You think the factory in the artwork is a sneak peek of the possible facade? Maybe. I do think maybe. I think we'll see it in some capacity because I don't know why they would show it if they didn't have a plan to put it in there somewhere in some capacity. Whether that's a facade or something. I mean, I would hope for it to be the facade. Like maybe even if you did it like a Chupacabra thing where you did it off in the distance. So like, it's not necessarily you're going in that way, although that would be great too. But like a kind of like, oh, you're going in the back, but you could see it in the backdrop. Almost like the Willy Wonka one where it's like super big and you're like seeing the smokestacks in the background. The idea of a candy factory house being better than the AI scam. It's funny. Yeah. So yeah, that's the whole thing too, right? The Willy Wonka experience being, I think for me, I want to think it's a coincidence because they plan these houses years in advance, right? They don't necessarily from what they've said and what I've heard and everything like that from all the information that's out there, they seem to plan these houses years and years and years in advance. Especially the originals, like they have a huge laundry list of original ideas they pull from and maybe say, oh, now's the year to do this. So maybe it was a coincidence or maybe it wasn't. Maybe it was totally like inspired, like, okay, we had this experience. We're like, yeah, well, this was on the table. Let's bring it back for this year. Who knows? But I think that'd be kind of cool. I didn't pay attention to everything around me here. Everything around me at HHN this year, I'm keeping my eyes open. Yeah, keep your eyes open. Look around for everything. I mean, every little clue can be something. That's the way HHN works. That's why it's so fun. That's the part of speculation that I love. It's less of like, this thing's coming. No, this thing's coming. No, this thing's coming. And here's this, this evidence that I have. It versus like, here's a little clue that they put in the event. And they're like, oh, like the tribute store or like Boris. There's like, maybe Boris could be the icon because it ties into the museum that was in the case files. Like things like that, like little clues. You're like, oh, like maybe that could be something interesting looking in the houses. If you want to look if you're planning on, I will say for anyone here who's interested in like lore, history, but the sort of little clues and Easter eggs, Unmasking the Horror Tour. That's my big recommendation if you can swing it. And Unmasking the Horror Tour. We don't know what houses are going to be on what tour. I'm guessing some of these will be on our early 3-house tour. I figure some of them will. My guess is Slaughter Sinema, Goblin's Feast, and maybe another one, an IP for the 3-house tour. But yeah, if you're interested at all in Easter eggs or clues, hit up those Unmasking the Horror Tours. Hope this is one of the houses that has a food booth theme to it. Yes, I think that would be great. I think a food booth theme to Major Sweets candy and candy factory would be a lot of fun. I mentioned that before with the candy corn cookie, which I never got. It looked great. I didn't get a whole lot of food that year, which I regret. I got a lot more food last year, and this year I'm going to do a lot more. I'm going to try a lot more of the food. Because like I wouldn't get the food every single time I went. Although sometimes, like I know this year in 2022, I did a food day and I felt like crap afterwards. So I was like, I don't recommend doing just all food one day. If you can, pace yourself, because the food at Halloween Horror Nights is not for the faint of heart. If you know what I'm saying, it's very heavy food, especially the sugar sweet stuff. But even the savory from time to time. Sometimes they have lighter fare. Like the stuff I like is usually the lighter stuff that you can kind of like have and be like, okay, now I can actually like go about my day. Don't feel like I need to like leave. Yeah. So Major Sweets Candy Factory. Love it. Love the idea. But today we got a fourth announcement. We're going to talk about this last one. Then we'll do hype lists. We'll do hype lists after that. Let's see. So the fourth one we got today, most recent, the museum, Deadly Exhibits. The museum, Deadly Exhibits, which, yeah, sick, cool logo. I love the logo for this. What's your favorite food at HHN? My favorite food. Okay. From the past 2 years, my favorite food item from last year was the Yeti poutine. I feel like it was very slept on. I feel like a lot of people slept on that. I like poutine though, so that's a thing. But I also really like the Hellfire Club sandwich and the drink, the Surfer Boy non-alcoholic sound drink. The non-alcoholic Surfer Boy punch was good. I had both. The one if you're trying to get a mixed drink at Halloween Horror Nights, it's exactly what you expect. I just like getting the non-alcoholic drinks versus the mixed drinks. But the non-alcoholic one was good. I love the flavor of it. But I like fruity tropical drinks like that anyway. So yeah, those are probably my favorite. And then the year before, the zombie brains, the cauliflower, beautiful, from the Meaty Meats booth. Those are my favorite. Have you ever seen a fight at HHN? Not beyond like just casual, I wouldn't say casual, but like, you know, maybe some people had a little too much to drink or maybe a little bit of roughhousing, but I've never seen a fight go down that's been anything nuts, like no crazy fights. But okay, night at the museum. So we're going into a museum. We don't know what museum it is. It's just the museum, which I would have liked a little bit of a more enticing name, like a memorial museum or something like kind of like mythology museum or something a little more interesting. But the museum's fine. Deadly Exhibits, I do like that subtitle. I love the logo. I think the logo is great. And then if you look all the way behind it, there's a little relic there. I know there's already some talks about what that relic is. I talked about it in my video. What that relic could be. I think it's like a few different possibilities. But yeah, excited for this. It's definitely like an evil spirit possessing different museum items. I think we could see a lot of interesting scares here. I think this could be our most interesting like house, like the most new and unique in terms of like mixing these scare techniques together, doing like, I'm trying to think, like the mannequin scares for sure. I definitely think we're going to see some mannequin scares in here. Like one's a person and then there's like 4 that are just mannequins. if y'all went to the weekend in 2022, there was a great scare where there was an actor that blended into the wall, that popped out of the wall like wallpaper. I could expect that being in here. It says there's going to be like a decaying theme. So something maybe like Tooth Fairy. For those who went through that house, there was like black like plaque on the wall that started to become more decrepit, more as we went on. And I think it says we're going to see something of that nature here. So maybe we'll see, as we've seen the picture, like the sort of exhibit is cracked. It looks like it's almost like a little bit of maybe like mold there, like some kind of like crazy marble. So maybe we'll see some of that in terms of the set work. So yeah, that's what we're seeing. Now, what do y'all think about this? Let's see. Do you think the heavy metal portion of Slaughter Sinema will actually be 3D? I don't think they'll give out glasses, because I don't think, if the whole house was 3D, yes, but I think it'll just be very heavy black light, maybe some strobe, some very disorienting. Maybe we'll see our little 3D spinning tunnel come back. We haven't seen that in a few years. So that's where I'm thinking we're going to go with this. Don't think it'll be fully 3D. Now that I'm looking at it, you think the weird creature in this artwork has a connection to the gross thing under Universal? I don't think it has necessarily. No, I could be wrong, because it does fit that vibe, right? It's got like those like tentacles, it's got this weird like fleshy look. To me, it looks like Fear's Lantern. You know, it looked like the lantern. So, what do y'all think of the possibility of the lantern having some, like, I don't think this is Fear's Lantern, but maybe from the same source, like something of that nature, because it does, like, it's like shaped like it. It's got the vines like it. It does have the vines like the thing we saw in the trailer. So I don't know. I think that's definitely something to pay attention to. But also, there's a potential of the Cthulhu monster from Boris, the bat scene. We did see that, and of course that was in black and white, so it looked a little bit different. But still, if they were to adapt a version of that, which looked a little more realistic, as maybe the spirit that's possessing everything, we did see an idol, so like a relic that was in that house. So maybe. But anyway, those are some of my thoughts on what this could be. But I'm hoping. Oh shoot, this is literally the plot of Night in the Museum for sure. I'm hoping that cryptids from different countries. This will be cryptids from different countries. Yeah, I think this will definitely. I think it will have some Egyptian mythology. I think we'll have maybe some Japanese mythology. I think that'll be kind of cool. Some Greek mythology, maybe like Celtic or Vikings. I think that stuff would be really sick. All of that. I would be all over that. I would love to see like some knight's armor come to life. Do some medieval stuff, like real world medieval, not like Goblin's medieval. Very interesting. I like trying to speculate what the houses could be inside. It's something that I thought of is in the houses some shape or form. I'm excited. It's something I never thought. I'm stoked. Yeah, that's what we're doing here. That's why I love doing this. Like thinking about what we could see, because sometimes y'all give me ideas of like, oh yeah, I didn't even think about that. That totally could have some kind of play. And then when you see it, you're like, oh hey, that's pretty exciting. And if it isn't, then it's a surprise. Love to see a few aerial scares. Yeah, I think aerial scares would be really interesting in this house. Depending on how tall the sets are, depending on where this goes, if this is a tent house or a soundstage. I would love for this to be a soundstage. I think this could be a really cool soundstage house. But yeah, tent house or I mean, I even say like a Fast and Furious. I think they could make it work. I think they can make it work there. Wishing for Easter eggs relating to Tomb of the Ancients, Pandora's Box, maybe the East Asian Scare Zone. Yeah, all that. Tomb of the Ancients, I think we'll definitely see something in here, some kind of like little nod. Maybe Jungle of Doom, considering we did see that. Who knows? Won't Friday the 13th come back? They just sort of renegotiated Jason, like the whole Jason thing. So maybe now, not now. I wouldn't say now this year, but maybe in the coming years, if they're able to renegotiate, because they did mention wanting to do haunted experiences, and Horror Nights is the premier haunted event. So maybe in the future, maybe in a couple of years, we'll see Jason come back. I have more confidence in Jason coming back sooner than Freddy. That's just me, though. Honestly, I think Fear could be involved in the Lord, not a main icon. Could this be a spawn of Fear? I keep saying that Fear has very little to no possibility of coming back to the lore. So I think they could always spin off of Fear. Maybe not doing Fear specifically, right? Because I don't think Fear would necessarily come back right away. every 20 years, right? But also they don't like to bring him back for anniversary, like other than anniversaries. But I think Fear having a role could be very interesting. If you're playing a role, maybe this is, some people, I know some folks have talked about maybe the thing under Universal being a spawn of Fear, like this is saying. Maybe this has some sort of tie, or maybe this is something completely different and new. I mean, we all thought the Collector last year had something to do with Oddfellow, and the Collector had nothing to do with Oddfellow. The Collector from Darkest Steel. So maybe it's something similar, like thematic wise, but it's not like, this isn't like an icon house. You know what I'm saying? I feel like they would have said that if it was. I heard something about Puppet Theater and Dollhouse of the Damned being similar to this house on Twitter. Very excited because I love those houses. Yeah, I would love to see a Puppet Theater. Like Puppet Theater, I think is one of those houses that I do wish I did at 30 because it looked like a really cool original. And yeah, I mean, those houses look great. And I really hope that we get to see something of that nature reflected, whether that's through sort of like the displays, like the different types of scares that are used. Because Puppet Theater used quite a bit of different like methods of scare. You had the actual puppets, and then you actually had like people, like scare actors mixing in. So yeah, I would love this. I did hear this too. I did read this too, which is very interesting. Wait, is this me or does Fear have like pseudo wings? Have you seen his? Yeah, he does have wings. He has like those wings that come out from his arms. Yeah, so I believe so. From everything I've seen, he has those. Although it's really hard to get a good look of Fear unless you like, if you're someone who never went to the event, I should say, if never seen Fear at the event, if you went to YouTube, there's a video of his scare zone from 20. That's the best look you're going to get of Fear. Really, it's kind of hard to get, like I said, get a really good look at him. Other than in that scare zone during the daytime. Museum is my most anticipated. Yeah, no, I'm with you. I understand. It's not my most anticipated, but I see it. I see the vision. I see where the anticipation is. For me, I think this is going to be our story house of the year. I think this is going to be our big story house, our big, like, I feel like this could be like the dark horse of the year. Like maybe the surprise, whether that's good or bad. You know, you never know. What was my first year attending? 2022. I'm a newbie. I am a newbie. And this channel is fueled by my intense love for researching old stuff that I never did. Yeah, no, funny enough, I'll plug this. If y'all haven't seen, hold on, let me pull it up. Let me pull it up real quick. I'm going to do a little plug real quick for something that I want to give more visibility to, and that is there. Let me stop sharing, and then let me a video that I want to share is this video here by the Horror Fiends. And it has, I don't know if Zombie Chris is still in the chat, but Zombie Chris is featured in this video, as well as Losh and the Wicked Thrill Seeker. Shout out to them. And it's kind of like our HHN origin stories. And I talked about my history with HHN in that video, so that's why I wanted to mention it. But yeah, I do want to give some visibility to it. I'm going to put it in the chat. I'm going to put it in the chat here so you guys can go check it out, because I do definitely recommend checking it out. It's really a labor of love. And again, Kyle and Amber from the Horror Fiends, they do great stuff, and great friends of mine. So get that in the chat there so y'all can do what you will with that information. But anyway, yes, my first year was 2022. Yeah, I started thinking I might want to do videos, and then I ended up just doing them. So here we are. It does have wings. Wouldn't that mean the thing under Universal looks like a cocoon? Definitely. I think it is a cocoon because it opens, right? It's like it opens and something comes out. Maybe like a roar, like of some kind, because it does send the shockwave through the park. So yeah, definitely. Definitely. If Fear is the icon, I'm totally getting the plushie. Please make Fear plushies, guys. Even if Fear isn't the icon, please make icon plushies. We would buy them all. I would buy them all. I've never been to HHN. Can't wait to go. Can't wait for you to go sometime. It's a lot of fun. And if you can't go, hope you have fun living vicariously through the videos. That's why I make the videos, even for those who don't go or can't go, or have never been before, because I was there. So the YouTube is a very fun friend to have if you've never been to HHN, or you are scared to go to HHN. Okay, so before we go, let's drop hype lists of the 4 houses we've seen thus far. Drop it in the chat and we'll talk about it. I'm going to say for me, number 1 has to be Slaughter Sinema. I love the idea of Slaughter Sinema. It's one of those houses I wish I was able to do. Slaughter Sinema, I am super impressed with that house, and how they're able to navigate 8, 9, whatever different houses all together, or 8, 9 different house concepts, I should say, all together, different movies. So I'm excited to see what comes from this. Yeah, I'm excited to see what Slaughter Sinema brings to the table. Okay, so Slaughter Sinema number 1, Heavy Mental Health 3D. Also, I mean, I love not bad houses, but like 3D houses they have their moment. So Slaughter Sinema is number 2. Number 1. Number 2, Major Suites. I love that scare zone. I love the vibe. I can't wait to see it. Yeah, Slaughter Sinema is number 2, or Major Suites is number 2. Slaughter Sinema is number 1, and then see these next 2 are the hard ones, because the first 2 I already kind of knew, but the next 2, I'm gonna say number 3 is gonna be Goblin's Feast, because I'm just very curious about the high fantasy concept, and I'm curious about what the sets will be like. I like the logo, I like the vibe, I like the colors. And then number 4 is Museum. Not that I'm not excited for Museum. I am. I'm very excited for Museum. More excited than when it was speculated. But I will say that is it's got to be my number 4. Something's got to be at the bottom. Hopefully, if we get another house tomorrow and Friday, we'll add 2 more to the list. But yeah, let's pop some of these on here. Museum is my number 1. Slaughter 2 second. Suites 3rd. Goblins is last. So valid. I see this. I know you mentioned Museum being your number 1, and I'm really excited for you. I mean, I think Museum being number 1 it makes a lot of sense. Also, Candy Corn, I know you have Major Suites number 1, Museum number 2. Oh wait, here's your full one. I knew you were first. Let me put yours. Major Suites, Museum, Goblin Feast, Slaughter Sinema. They're all equally high. Yeah, I do think like hype level on all these is 10 out of 10. I'm hyped for all these, which is great. It's a great start to announcement season where you already have a house or houses that I'm ready. You know, I know some of these are dream houses for people. Slaughter Sinema is one that I really want. So, most to least, Slaughter Sinema, Major Suites, Museum, Goblin's Feast. So very similar to mine, just flip to 2. I see that. Goblin's Feast, another one here. I think this is the same order. Writing the movies, great username. Goblin's Museum, Major Suites, Slaughter Sinema. Museum for me. Number 2, Slaughter Sinema. Tomb of the Ancients was my first year. That is a cool. I feel like that's an overlooked house. I feel like from everything that I've seen, it looks like a very overlooked house. And hopefully they have some little nods. Maybe they have like a room that's similar to that in the museum house. Reagan, Major Suites, Slaughter Sinema, Museum, Goblin's Feast, Antonis. Let me know if I pronounce that right. If I lived in Florida, my hype list would be Goblin's Feast. Goblin's Feast at number 1. That's awesome. Major Suites, Candy Factory, Slaughter Sinema, Museum. Goblin's Feast, Major Suites, Museum, Slaughter Sinema. Hear me out in HHN 40 Fuel, take off his mask. Well, if I know that, Harry, you and I both want Nathaniel Crow to come back. I'm with you, Harry. And I know here's your hype list: Museum, Major Suites, Goblin, Cinema. So in release order, that's awesome. And there's some other questions here, and y'all can keep throwing your hype list in here if you didn't already. Do you think they'll reuse sets and costumes? I don't know if they'll reuse sets because I think a lot of those sets were so specific to Dueling Dragons. But I think maybe effects, like they'll maybe repurpose some effects. I really love the lighting, so maybe they could find a way to make that work. Although I don't know, since I don't know what the magic's going to be, if it'll make sense to do that in here. Maybe. Let's see. Do you think we'll get all our retro originals? I'm leaning on maybe, considering the path. We'll see tomorrow and Friday. I don't know why they do this. I don't know why they would stop. But it's Universal. You never know. But I think there's a decent likelihood, considering we've already gotten 3, that we'll get the other 2, and then we'll complete our set, and then it'll be time for IPs, which will be awesome. I love that split of like, you already know the originals. That's what I'm most excited for. So the IPs can just be whatever. I mean, it can be whatever, and it can surprise, or it can not. Excited for all of them, Chris. I know you did a hype list in your last video. So definitely excited for all of them. If they're going to start making people that are connected to established icons, Nathaniel Crow wouldn't be far off. I think Nathaniel Crow would have been great for that Halloween year for 2022, instead of the Pumpkin Lord. I love the Pumpkin Lord, but I think Nathaniel Crow would have been better, in my opinion. I hope they introduce new icons, bring back unused scrap characters. Boris, I'm telling you, Boris fits that mold. Characters they really could do them well and have like a full-on representation of Boris instead of just in a house, which Case Files is a beautiful house, but I'm willing in HHN Hollywood, but why does Orlando not allow filming? Now, I don't know specifically why they don't announce filming. I can guess. I'm guessing a lot of it is liability, considering that just safety reasons, because Orlando does see a lot of people, and a lot of the conga line thing is real. Now, granted, Hollywood's getting more like that, so it's just different teams. I mean, I of course, as someone who makes content about this and makes videos about Halloween Hornets, I'd love to be able to film in the Orlando houses, but I think they also use that as a method of like, we want you to come see them. Don't just watch a video on YouTube about them. Like, I know that's the reason why they're limited on Unmasking the Horror too, or Unmasking the Horror 2. If they allowed you to take pictures of everything, then who would want to come see the house? That's the logic, I think, from Universal side. I don't know if I'd fully buy it, but whatever. It's not me. That's not me. But yeah, unfortunately, they don't allow filming in the houses or pictures or anything, which kind of sucks, but it is what it is. When do you think there'll be announcements for Hollywood? Whenever we get a next IP announcement, which I think will be sometime early next month or mid-June. That's my guess. That's my guess. I think unless Murdy came out of the gate swinging with, we're gonna just drop an announcement tomorrow, then I mean that'd be awesome for y'all. But I don't see that happening. I see the when IPs start getting announced. That's why I think Orlando's doing originals first. I think IPs being the second half of an announcement season makes sense. Takes time to film those commercials. That might also be a factor. Getting the commercials made and getting everything locked down could definitely be a part of it. A Boris-centric year will be a dream come true. Yes. And granted, I mean, we are kind of seeing, we could see maybe a tie, considering we are seeing a museum. There was a museum in Case Files. There was a sewer in Case Files as well, and that's what we're seeing in the previews. I mean, they could wrangle it together. They could do something. June for, I don't know if there's another emoji there, but June for the start of the IPs, Chris is saying. So then Hollywood will drop their tickets, dates, and first house. Chris is the news guy, so Chris can let you know. Chris knows a lot. Am I the only one who's not excited for Major Suites? I know some people who maybe aren't as excited, considering we did already see it, and it wasn't that long ago. But yeah, I mean, that's fair. That's totally fair. Totally fair. I think it'll have a little bit of trick or treat, but I'm thinking of anything. Think like Willy Wonka factory if you were to walk through it. That's my guess. will HHN Hollywood ever borrow another original house from HHN Orlando like they did with Scarecrow? I would like them to. I would like them to reinterpret some of our originals. And looks like we might be reinterpreting one of their originals this year. So we will have to see on that. I don't know if so. I would like to see their take on like a Slaughter Sinema. That'd be kind of cool. Like a Slaughter Sinema or a I know Nightingales was talked about last year. I think that'd be kind of cool too, like a Nightingales Hollywood version. I think that'd be neat. Okay, so Quackers, thank you for popping in the stream. I want to do a couple last minute questions, thoughts, anything like that, and then I'll probably head out. It's a fun time for sure. Thank you for coming through. But yeah, if anybody's got any last minute talks about the houses, questions, or anything of that nature, drop it in the chat and we will we'll make it happen. Has anyone seen the new spec map on Twitter? Was Triplets of Terror? I have no clue. No clue. I don't know what that has, and I'm hoping I'm waiting to make any judgment until we get that announcement. Which I'm hoping would like that to be a tomorrow announcement. At this point, I would like to be a tomorrow announcement. But we will see, because that was a tribute to Terror and Boris, or maybe not, or maybe comics, or maybe not, or maybe it's been a million different things. That's the wild card at this point. So I don't know. I'm honestly at a loss for words as to what that could be. I'd love to see some of their originals come to Orlando. I mentioned that. Yeah. Slaughter Sinema. Yeah, Slaughter Sinema. You can do twosies. That's what Murdy loves, right? Murdy loves disease. I want another classic HHN year with other older horror movies. I know you mentioned wanting another 80s year. I would love that. I would love to have another classic year. Don't know when we'll see that or if we'll ever see that again, but that would be pretty sick if they did. Sinbad House, adventure feel of Too Many Ancients with 1001 Arabian Nights. I think that'd be kind of cool. I would like them to do more mythology houses. I think dipping their toes in Latin America, and I'm like, okay, that's great. Maybe let's do some more mythology from around the world, more seriously than just, and they have, but do it again, let's do it recently. Where did HHN speculation maps start getting made? That is a great question. It's been a while. Horror Night Nightmares have been doing it for a long time. I do know this. Speculation map history. They have it on their website. 2011, according to the website, is what they say is their first speculation map. So since 2011, that's what it says here, I guess. Love to see a female center year with a female icon. Yes. I would love that. I think that'd be kind of cool. I think it'd be cool to see them do they did Wicked Divas with all the female icons in 30. I'd love to see a house of that, almost like the potential silver screen queens with HHN icons like the Storyteller, Lady Luck, Terra Queen, figures like that. Existing 70s and 80s. That would be kind of cool, doing it with actual movies. Hollywood would be a lot easier to do that because I feel like Murdy's got a lot more connections and that kind of stuff. So all night die-in kind of style. For sure. I mean, I think this would be great, honestly. Definitely. Okay. Well, thank you everybody for coming through, doing this little chat here. And hopefully new video tomorrow and Friday, if there's more drops. If not, you'll see a video next week because lots of stuff's happening. Tribute stores opening. There'll be a video on that. I'll be looking for HHN clues and DreamWorks. I know some of y'all are just HHN, but I do other Universal stuff. So DreamWorks will be happening. I want to see that. I'm excited to see that. And then we're gonna get into summer stuff. And then of course Horror Nights. Plan on doing some more things. Thank y'all for coming through. Again, really appreciate it. More streams to come when we get more announcements. But until then, I'll see y'all in the next video. Thank you, and take care, everybody. Have a good night. Good evening. See ya. Thumbs up again.